think so far we're very, very nice to each other. So if I may, I'll be a little more provocative because we're running out of time. I mean, one of the things you said, I'm addressing you, but I don't know your name, yes, you. As well, I mean, you said, well, for one thing, I'm not an expert, I would invite an expert. Well, that's, sorry, but there are no experts that are of any use in this, and I am very skeptical of experts in general. But beyond that, you said, well, let's invite some young entrepreneurs, and they know how to do this, or something like that. That is a major, major point, and that's why I'm picking up on it. That the idea of having people work for somebody else, having people come in and create employment, that are entrepreneurs that will hire people. That idea is, for one thing, dead, because there aren't enough enterprises that could be created. If we have 70% unemployment, there's no hope of putting those people back to work in what you call Arbeitsplätze here, what one could call jobs in English. So that's, I want us to understand, because this seems to be a really crucial point. I mean, the next culture, if I may put it like that, will inevitably, it will, so to say, by force of nature, have to be a culture in which people don't just work for somebody else and then go and buy with the money they have earned, but when they will make things themselves. That is the really huge change. And I think your idea is an important contribution. I very much want to learn more about how this works, because it will enable, and maybe that's not how you see it, and that's what we should talk about it. It will enable people to design the clothes they themselves will make, and not just make it possible for someone to become a designer who otherwise couldn't. Do we talk to each other?
I'm afraid I did not understand 100% of it. The main question was, if I got it right, how do we, like with all the entrepreneurship and all the new ideas and whatsoever, enable people to get back, but they get workplaces? Is this the main question? Okay. It's like okay. I don't know. Yeah, the problem is what really scared me off, like how you define like what you call old work. Like basically people going to a place, doing manual labor, afterwards getting money, spending that money, going back to that work, earning money, spending money. It's a really scary interpretation of the term work, which was used, let's say, the last century. What you said afterwards is that you interpret new work in the fact that people are working, let's say, autonomous and independent from the rest of the economy. I'm pretty much against this. I think the future of work is the interpretation of the work in the term that work has to make sense. It has to make sense for me as a human being. I have to work. That, like, for me, like, work is not what I think is suffering, and I do something which creates more value than I get money. Work has to be something that makes for me as a person completely sense, and hopefully pays me enough that I can do my living a part of work. That's for me the interpretation of work, of the future of work. And I strongly believe that the entrepreneurship, let's say, or micro-entrepreneurship, which we talked before with Chile, or potentially Detroit, is a good potential for this, because with micro-entrepreneurship, what you do is you make failure really cheap. It's really cheap for somebody, or really easy for somebody to try something out, and if it works, it gets big, and if it doesn't work, it blows up, whatever, he can try something else. The problem we have in Middle Europe is that we are scared of failure. I don't know how it's in your area, but in Middle Europe, people are enormously scared of failure. And that's the biggest problem for innovation. And what you said afterwards is that like our platform would be also interesting, like if people could sell what they did by themselves. There are many marketplaces who do that. We try to do something else. We try to adapt to the current industry and get, let's say, a shortcut to the interesting part of the industry for upcoming designers. So we're trying something different.
Okay, and I'll bite the hook of your provocation there, because just like I'm saying we need to be a little bit skeptical of open source or critical, I thought the optimism for do-it-yourself died in 1992 or something, you know, like, I think we've seen some of the limits of that, of how great some of the things we make ourselves wind up. There's some people who just aren't interested in making things themselves, or they're not good at it. Maybe they could get better, but sometimes having someone else do it is more rewarding and is better. Sometimes, certain parts of the chain. And what's interesting to me is this idea of new work where people are just making things by themselves in their homes or in their communities doesn't require the internet. It doesn't require any of these new technologies. It just requires maybe a set of good books on how to do things. And what we have the potential with the internet, listen. What we have potential with is the internet is to connect people to find out how best to produce something. And maybe it's hiring somebody or working for somebody to get to some point and networking rather than just saying, oh, I'm going to do this. I know I'm going to learn how to do this and I'm going to do this. It really becomes a multi-directional flow of information rather than just learning how to make something yourself.
I'm afraid we're out of time, but let me just say I'm laughing because I think this is turning into sort of a wonderful example of how to create multiple on top of each other misunderstandings in less than 50 minutes. I mean, to you I want to say, please, please, please don't misunderstand what I'm trying to talk about. I am very much a person who thinks that work should make sense to people, that people should do things that they want to do. In fact, that is the quintessence of what I've been doing, always with this phrase, with this sentence that I didn't invent, was invented by people. They said, what we want is to do work that we really, really want to do. So, on that point, there's no difference between us whatsoever, and we should embrace each other and dance. The other thing with you, well, we're having fun, and that's by far the most important thing. I mean, no. I mean, just, as long as we have met each other, let's make use of it. That is, the idea is absolutely not for people to do everything by themselves in some little basement corner and turn out absolute crap. I mean, I know that is what happens. The idea is much more, and that, in fact, a lot of people say that's the crucial difference between the green movement and the new work. That the green, the ecological movement and new work. Many parts of the ecological movement have, especially in the past, been skeptical of technology. The new work is exactly the opposite. New work from the very beginning was a romance with technology. So, yes, we don't believe in doing things all by yourself, for heaven's sakes. We talk about community production. Community production means using machines like this that are, to my mind, sort of the next big step after the internet and after computers. But
I would just say, how are you defining community here? Because local community restricts you in some sense. If you enhance your definition of community, it's global, right? But it's an important distinction, because a machine like that is seen as having potential for sitting in a community center somewhere where everybody can walk up to it and enter things into it and have it print out as whatever they want. But we also have a machine of this internet that sounded really dumb. The internet is this machine that can produce things for us as well. You can ship off your design to some entrepreneur somewhere who's going to be in some way working for you to produce that as a form of exchange. And I think that's an important distinction, is we have to think of being part of that larger community.
Just on the way, I mean, obviously and emphatically, and to the end, we are for using the internet.
Just one thing that came in my mind right now is that if you had this discussion 10 years ago, everyone would be talking about business models. And right now we're sitting here for 1 hour and we don't even talk once about business models, how we make money. We never talked about how we make money with this. And that's quite interesting to see how things changed, because it's not so important anymore to make money with it, because not everybody can find work anymore. Everything will be changed. So it's a new, how you say, the topic is different than 10 years ago, and it's awareness now. It's a different. The values have changed. What's important, from making a business model and make money to have fun at work and so on, and that's much more important than changing. It's good that it's changing, and we grow it quite big.
I do have the sense we're all talking about empowerment, which is an old word and different usage words, empowerment, but I do at the same time believe we're all talking about processes, we're talking about community and access and autonomy. I have a slight problem with the internet or the book or whatever as the deposit of knowledge, and thinking of knowledge as you just take it out and have it there. I'm always thinking about learning curves and organizing your learning curves. Organize it as community, not having your own autonomous learning curve as person, but as community, whether it's working on the project or in that city. And the internet for me is extremely helpful tool to see other learning curves, other projects, other experiences. They are kind of deposits there, but we always use this, not taking it out one time and having it, but always using that as media to communicate. Last sentence for me, like the first sentence, for me it's empowerment that we have as communities working together and organizing our own knowledge and learning curves. That's the main thing for me.
Wonderful. Let's stop. Thank you very, very much.